Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining our webinar today on supporting employee transition. I am Jinsi George. I'm a talent management consultant with Ahria Consulting. The host for today's webinar is Terry Gillis, the president and CEO of Ahria. Before I hand it over to Terry, just wanted to let all of you know that you are all on mute, just so that we don't have background noise on today's session. However, please do participate and interact with all of us using your chat window. You would see three icons at the bottom of your screen. You would see Q&A, chat, and raise your hand icon. You can lodge all your questions in the Q&A window. You can raise your hands when you want to participate, and you can use the chat window to share your ideas and opinions and to chime in whenever possible. In the chat window, just one reminder, um, when you send the message to someone, please choose to send the message to all panelists and attendees. We have seen in the past that a lot of you participate, but all the responses come directly to the panelists, so the other attendees don't get to see your responses. So when you chat, please do try to use to send the message to all panelists and attendees. This webinar is being recorded, as you would see on your screen. So a recording of the webinar will be sent to all of you in an email tomorrow. And if you don't get it, please feel free to email us, and we'll make sure that you do receive a copy of the recording. Um, all questions that you put in the Q&A question box are anonymous. So if you really want to ask a question that only we see, please go ahead and ask it in the Q&A box. So with that, I think we are ready to start. At the end of this webinar, you will see a feedback screen pop up. Please take a minute to give us feedback and share your comments and suggestions with us. If you are using two monitors or more monitors, the feedback may pop up on any one of those monitors. So please keep an eye for that. With that, we are ready to hand it over to Terry Gillis. Terry, over to you.
Thanks, Jinsi, and thanks everybody for joining us today. I know that this pandemic and this crisis continues to evolve, and every day seems like a new day, and every day seems like a new challenge. So being able to be supportive of everybody as we try to navigate our way through uncharted waters is we're appreciative of the ability for us to be part of that journey with you. So we really appreciate you joining us today. We're really going to talk about three things. We are keeping these webinars short for a couple of reasons. One is respectful of your time. Two, there's about 1,001 webinars that people can attend these days, and we're trying to get as much information into your hands as quickly as possible, so we're not chewing up a lot of your time. So really three things I want to talk about today. Hope these hit the radar screen for you. If they don't, then please let us know, and we will continue to evolve on a go-forward basis. The three things I want to talk about today is, one, how to gain control in a situation that seems uncontrollable, how to prepare for the next steps in your career. It doesn't matter what perspective you're coming from, be it an employer or an employee, and also talk a little bit about finding out where opportunities may exist when the world feels like it's shutting down. So, Jinsi, let's just do a quick poll, see who we have with us today. I'd like to see who's on the line with us and what the situation is. So if you could just real quickly give us some responses to this on who's on the line, what's your situation? Are you an employer? Are you working from home? Have you been terminated? Whatever, it's going to be a mixed bag. And we purposely left it this way. We're going to get more specificity in the next couple of weeks in terms of workshops and webinars coming forward, but today we wanted to leave this kind of high level. So looks like we have, oh, this is so much fun to watch this in real time as it changes. It's sort of really cool. So we got about 64% of you voted, so some of you are still sitting on the fence. Give us a shout out. We'd really appreciate it. It helps us keeps us focused. So there's 36% of you out there that haven't voted yet. So just throw one out there. So all right, we'll give it another few seconds. We got some fence sitters.
Yeah. If you're using multiple screens, on one of your screens, you probably have a polling question pop up. If you are seeing that, please choose an appropriate response, and we'll share the responses with you in a minute. We'll share the results.
There we go. We got another one. We got a couple more in. That's great. Okay, so here's where we stand, folks. It looks like we're about evenly split from some of you are currently working from home but concerned about the future of your job. Some of you are an employer trying to make decisions about employees' futures, and at least a couple of you have indicated that you've actually been terminated. So we hopefully will cover off all of your needs and certainly talk about how we can meet your needs going forward. So okay, so let's move on from there. So if you were on the webinar last week, I started off last week with never waste a crisis, and that sounds sort of ugly, but really what we're saying is, how do we reframe this and say, what's the opportunity in this crisis? And when we reframe that, it actually opens up our brain and opens up our minds to accept new possibilities. So the reality of any situation like we're in is, of course, that we have two responses. The first one is the red alert phase that we've been in probably now for the better part of 2 weeks, I'd say. This all sort of came down on Friday the 13th, which will go down in infamy. In that first phase was to go into that panic emergency phase. And now you're starting to see businesses and individuals, and it started to move into more of adaptive phase. But always what can derail this, of course, is panic and fear. And panic and fear leads to learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is that state that you can get into where you just feel there isn't any hope. So our avocation, just like we did a week ago, was we believe the focus here should be on where are you putting your mental energies? Where are you putting your thoughts? And it's really like anything else. I always like solving things with a 2x2 matrix. So here's my 2x2 matrix. Essentially, what you're thinking about and what you're not thinking about, coupled with what you can control and what you cannot control. So when you're actually thinking about things you can't control, that's constructive problem solving, that's opportunity seeking, that's positive, that's good. But when you're thinking about things you can't control, that's just endless worrying. And it's a complete drain and suck on all your energies. So we're trying to move you away from that. We want to move you out of that column over into the column you can control. When you're not thinking about things you can control, of course, well, that's just a missed opportunity. And when you're not thinking about things that you can't control, that's just awesome because you're conserving energy. As you can see, we're always trying to move you over into that what you can control column and into that thinking about row. That's the ultimate in that. So in that context, what I'm curious about is, what are you doing to get a sense of control? What are some of the things that you have control over right now? So let's do a quick Q&A. If you can throw out some ideas in the chat box around some of the things you can control right now. Let's see what we can get going and get a little bit of problem solving, a little bit of idea generation going here. If you could throw any comments you have up into the chat box, that would be great. Love to hear from you. And if not, we'll come up with our own. So, I'm not seeing anything in the chat box. We have a shy group today. So, or maybe I'm over in the wrong box. So we got one person who says, yeah, keep communicating with your staff and stakeholders. Absolutely. How you react to issues. Here we go. That's absolutely lovely. Your behavior and your thinking. Hey, shout out to a good friend of mine over in Ireland. How are you? And how to deal with stress and how to spend your time. Fantastic. So these are good. This is awesome. Right now, we can't control the spread of this disease, or we can control the spread of the disease by social distancing, but we can't control how it's going to manifest itself. So there's no point worrying about that and when this is going to end. We don't know that. We can't control our reactions to it. We can't control how much we're consuming news. If you're on my webinar last week, I had a cathartic moment of my life where last Wednesday I was watching the Dow Jones Industrial Average on a minute-by-minute basis, and it was like depressing. Since then, I've turned off the news. I get a little bit of snippet in the morning. I get basic headlines, and then I turn it off from there. Quite simply, it has made a world of difference. Primarily because what it's done for me is it's allowed me to focus more on my internal control. And internal control is I have choices. I can take action. I can do something about this. I can expect things. It's an internal sense of control. And when you believe that, when you have the belief that you can shape your own life and whatnot, you get better coping. When you're in that other external control, when it's your fault, it's impossible, it's bad luck, if only things were better, that's going to lead to probably some darker days ahead for you. So we're going to strongly urge people to focus on the things that they can control from an internal basis. Why? Because our beliefs control our thoughts, they control our feelings, and that in turn controls our actions. So what are some of the actions that we can be taking during this crisis with respect to employment scenarios? So first of all, here's the facts. Chaos abounds right now. It is without a doubt that chaos is the new normal since, again, about almost 2 weeks now. I'd suggest for many organizations that's settling down a little bit, but nonetheless, organizations are desperately trying to get on a solid footing right now. Normalcy has been completely upended. Most organizations are making it up as they go along. If you're one of those employers on the line right now, you're still scratching your head wondering what are your next steps. It's chaos. We get it. No one really knows what the future holds. Most HR departments, most managers are just getting up to speed in terms of logistics and daily routines and moving to fully remote workforces. We get it. So that is the new normal right now. That's factual. So Jincy, let's do a quick poll on this one. We just want to say what's the status inside your organization right now? Do you have that poll handy, Jincy? There we go. Yeah. So holding on, but we're not sure the next steps. We made our organization made some initial changes, including some layoffs. You may be part of that. Still not sure what to do and figuring it out day to day. Just to get a sense of where everybody is. So. And sadly, these seem mutually exclusive, but they're probably not. So. All right. So this is pretty split between holding on, made some initial changes, and figuring it out day to day. So not surprised. This is the reality. Everybody knows this. Business 101. If I can tell, or if you can tell that your business will maintain the same level of income and consumers will still want my product down the road, you move ahead. If not, you are in that moment of head scratching. We get that. Which brings up the question, how urgent is your current situation? So some may be laid off, some may be thinking that they're going to be, some may be thinking that they will have to lay some people off, some people are, everybody's different. But how urgent is the situation? Here's what I can tell you. If it is urgent and you do have to make a layoff, or you become part of a layoff scenario, despite what the news is telling you right now, there are many, many companies right now who are hiring, believe it or not. There's actually a boom right now in the food business, the distribution business, the transportation of goods business, anything to do with healthcare right now is in a boom time. They need people en masse. So if you find yourself scratching your head saying, it's painful for me as a manager to make that decision to put somebody a layoff period for, say, a period of weeks, know full well that person wanted to pick up a gig. And remember, prior to this crisis, we were talking a lot about the gig economy, people that picked up bits and pieces of work here and there. That exists right now. There are opportunities a la mode right now. We just don't hear that because, let's face it, that's not going to get click-throughs on websites and news sites. But there are opportunities right now. We're getting phone calls from organizations saying, if you know people that are looking for quick gigs, we got it. So hold on to that one. That's a great possibility, okay? This could be a great stopgap for somebody who may be in a layoff situation. So I wanted to put that out there because we're not hearing that in the news very much. We're not hearing the fact that there are some opportunities out there. And if you have to make a layoff, or if somebody is experiencing a layoff right now, keep in mind a layoff is done for one reason and one reason only. That is to sustain the organization, because we want you back. We're not saying this is it. We're not at the stage of termination. If, on the other hand, you've been terminated, if your employment has been terminated because the organization's done that, know full well that as a stopgap measure, there's opportunities out there. May not be your ideal perfect solution longer term, but in the interim can help with bills. So keep that in mind. Now, Here's the next step is this is a great time to reflect. I'm a maritimer. I come from the East Coast, so you'll forgive the following, but we have a saying in the East Coast, and that is while you're waiting for your ship to come in, why not do a little maintenance on the pier? So, and there's a nice little shot of ship coming in on the pier, very clever, okay? You know, panic results in us jumping at the first available opportunity, or panic results in us jumping at the first solution. Take your time. Use this time to reflect. Okay. Take advantage of the slowing job market by getting clarity about where you may want to be. If you're in that mode, what type of role, what you're seeking. If you're an employer, what are the key projects right now that we can complete? What are those things that have been on our to-do list for 800 years that we've never gotten to? Can we bring some of that work forward? Can we deploy some of our people on those tasks so that when things pick up, and they will pick up, when those things pick up, we're not going, oh darn, what a missed opportunity. So that's a great opportunity. Now, with social distancing, what it is right now, okay, we know that everybody is, pretty much everybody, or many people have moved to work from home routines, okay? Up to 88% of organizations have encouraged or require employees now to work from home in response to this outbreak, okay? That was the latest research that just whistled across my desk late yesterday afternoon. And though we knew telecommuting was increasing anyway, but now I guarantee you this is going to be looked upon a lot more favorably than it ever has before. So we're saying refine your work from home routine. Working from home is going to become a skill set for the future. It's going to be a necessity. So whether you're an employer contemplating change, whether you're an employee who's on a layoff, whether you're somebody who's been impacted by a termination, regardless of your scenario, we strongly advocate build your work at home ethic and routine now. Maintain regular hours. Treat your day as if you would if you were going into the office. Create that dedicated workspace. Set ground rules for family members. Schedule the breaks. Try to keep consistency in this. When we work on our career transition practice for people who are impacted by employment change, one of the things we always tell them is make sure you have Job Search Central. They scratch, what's Job Search Central? Job Search Central is a home office that you can work from, that you spend your time focused, laser focused on your next opportunities, and that becomes your place of work. So working from home, either you're on a layoff and you need to be focusing on what are some opportunities I can pick up on, maybe some of the other ideas we'll share in a minute, whether you're looking for that next opportunity or whether you're an employer still trying to figure things out. Work from home routine, very, very critical. And then when this crisis is over, remember, people are going to be asking you the next time they are in an interview, you're going to get the question, so tell me about your work from home capability. So great resource to be building at this time. So now in that context, and this slide seems totally weird, I get it, but watch what you wear. I've been on webinars where people have sort of forgotten the nuances of professionalism, not because I don't mind seeing somebody in a hoodie or a sweaty or whatnot, but here's the thing. We know from social psychology, we know this unequivocally to be true, that we perform better when we wear clothes that reflect our position. If we're wearing hoodies and we're wearing, shorts and flip-flops and whatnot, that's reflective of our mindset. I'm a big advocate of, you know what, sure, maybe stay in the jams a little bit longer, but I would strongly recommend not to. What you wear becomes who you are. I know it sounds crazy, but this is social psychology, folks. This is a time to trust science and not second guess it. So let's do that. So, and then great opportunity right now is to gather intelligence. If you're an employer, gather intelligence on your competitors, gather intelligence on your customers. If you're in a layoff mode, what better way to do the same thing? Make yourself valuable when you come off layoff. You come in and say, well, I was off. I learned the following things about our competitors. I learned the following things about our customers. Make yourself invaluable to your organizations. And if you are in transition, if you've been terminated, this is a great opportunity to learn about the companies that are of interest to you. So there are essentially, in my world, there are a couple of things. How do you find information? There are two major sources of information. There's people and print. People are your best resources. They're more up to date. They're real. That helps you build your network. That's a little difficult right now because of the situation we find ourselves in with social distancing. That's okay. But print resources, this is where you can learn a ton. What kinds of things are you looking for? If you're in transition, you're looking for industry information. What's going on? You're looking for company information. What's going on in companies? And you're looking for role information. I suggest rather than dig into the latest from CNBC or Fox News or the latest drivel that's going to make us all depressed about the sorry state of our world, I'd rather say let's focus on industry and company information. Who's doing what? Who are the ones that are exciting? Who are the ones that are making moves right now? Who are the ones that are responding to the pandemic? How are they responding to it? Great intelligence about the world that we live in and the organizations within it. Now, here's a whole boatload of information. Rather than go through it, we'll leave it on the slide deck and we'll share with you. But print resources are bountiful, from company websites to media, new products and firms relocating and who's having a sale, who's got a contract. Just read today, a company local here just got a contract for hand sanitizer. Guess what? That company is going to need help distributing that over the next little while. Opportunity, okay? Who's recalling employees? Who's new officers or promotions, or who's right now downsizing? Yes, even in downsizing, there's opportunity in there because the skills needed inside that organization shift. Great opportunity there. What about LinkedIn? Let's get into the company pages and industry pages. Annual reports. Not that they're going to be particularly helpful right now, but they can at least tell you where the company was going prior to this all coming down the wire at us. So business directories, trade and professional associations, industry trends, roles, etc., job postings, Glassdoor. There's a boatload of them. I'm sure you have other ones as well. The point here is let's not shut ourselves off to the world. Let's get excited about the possibilities that exist within it and get after some great print resources and get some great knowledge. Now, if that's not your deal, and that's okay, then this could be a great time for reflection. And in that context, we're really thinking about professional development. It is mind-boggling right now how many opportunities exist in the world for professional development that are free. HBR has opened up their catalogs. There's Microsoft Learning or LinkedIn Learning. There's a whole boatload, sorry about that switch there. There's a whole boatload of organizations that are sharing their content right now. A quick Google on free learning resources right now will get you access to a whole ton of them. Focus on where you'd like to be, focus on what has been missing, do that personal strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats analysis. What are some things I'd like to improve on going forward? Great opportunity to be doing some professional development. Get comfortable with networking online. We're all familiar with our good friend LinkedIn, and the power of LinkedIn is very pervasive and very powerful. This is a time to spruce up your LinkedIn profile regardless of your scenario. This is a great opportunity to be participating in industry chat rooms and groups. Get involved in those groups. Get involved in the discussions on those groups. Make yourself known as somebody who is knowledgeable. Get into those situations and start talking about conversations and posting content and commenting. It'll start to build your brand, which is never a bad thing, regardless of what your situation is. Then I'd also say this is a great opportunity for us all to stay in touch. When we're super busy, the last thing we ever think about is somebody else's needs. However, again, I'm going to rely on my good friends, the social psychologists here. They have shown and proven that when we help others, when we keep in touch with others, when we share information with others, it activates the same parts of our brains that are stimulated by sex and food. That means it turns us on. So share an inspirational quote on social media. Give a colleague or a coworker a recommendation on LinkedIn. Reach out to someone in your network on behalf of somebody else. Help. Right now, this is a great way to just take the doldrums away and really excite those pleasure centers of the brain. You're going to feel a whole lot better about it. Send or share a thoughtful message with somebody. These are great ideas and great tips as we navigate through this. The other thing that's going to come up, regardless of who you are, you need to start practicing, and we're going to run a webinar on this in a week's time on practicing for video interviews. If you're an employer, guess what? This is probably going to become your new reality. Probably going to need some help with that. If you're a candidate, guess what? This is going to be a new reality. We're going to need to practice on this. This is going to be our new world for a little while until we get back to face-to-face communication. Video interviewing has become the new normal. Get out there and see what you can find on that. We will have a webinar on that in the next week or so. More to follow on that one. So I know I'm rushing through a lot of these ideas. The intent today is to plant seeds of ideas in your brain that can germinate and grow from here. So as always, we're a big fan of develop that plan. What are my 3 most critical goals for the day or the week? Communicate that plan with others and then ask for help. Don't get burned out. Speaking of burned out, get some sunlight, everybody, whenever you can. In southwestern Ontario here, that's hard to do from time to time, but yesterday was a gorgeous sunny day. Sunlight is an amazing source of inspiration. Why? Because that produces serotonin. And what does that do? That lowers our blood pressure and it lowers our cortisol. That's the stress hormone. So if we can be lowering stress hormones and lowering our blood pressure at a time of crisis, this is huge. Sunlight's our best friend. And I've also heard that it's got great at vitamin D, and it's also good at killing off the virus. So when you see that sun, wear your sunscreen. Let's not be silly, but let's get out and enjoy some of that whenever you can. That's going to be helpful. So remember, we want to keep calm and wash your hands, and keep calm and keep physical distance, not social distance. We still want to be connected with each other, but physical distance is our friend right now. That'll help us get over this. So there you go. That's sort of some of the quick and dirty ideas. I wanted to leave a few minutes in the end in case there was comments, questions, or concerns that we can answer for you. As always, these are meant to be quick little tips rather. Hopefully there's some value in that for you. And we'll certainly take any questions or concerns. Jincy, I'll get you to help me with that if there's comments out there. And we'll see where we get to. Gosh, I hope I'm still on.
I am waiting to see if we have any questions.
If anybody out there has very personal, individual, specific questions, recognizing we're not going to cover off everybody's immediate needs through a webinar, please reach out, give me a call, or send me an email at terry.gillis@ahria.ca. I'd be happy to address those on an individualized basis. I know that this is a very high-level, generalized webinar today. It was intended to be so. And if you want some more information, then please reach out. We'd be happy to do that for you.
Terry, we have one question. We have a question about what are reliable resources for applying for EI or putting staff on EI?
So in terms of applying for EI, with respect to individuals, what we have been hearing is that Service Canada right now has been overwhelmed with requests, as they're asking all employers who are moving to filling out records of employee to keep it simple. I would suggest just flip me an email on that one, and then we can give you specific information on that. So.
Yeah, and if you're following Terry on his LinkedIn and Ahria Consulting, I think a couple of days ago or maybe yesterday, Terry did share a few links for EI related information. So if you were to follow him on LinkedIn or Ahria, you would find it there too.
Okay. So I see another one here, and just open up my chat box. How can we help others deal with stress about working in healthcare and recognize that it's stressful? Yeah, that's huge. I've got some personal friends who are in healthcare right now. They're frontline. I just got to give a big shout out to everybody who's in the front line of this pandemic. It's always the frontline soldiers that take the brunt of this. I think that we can show signs of support in a number of different ways. First of all, on your social media, getting back to that notion of sending out a positive thought, which makes you feel like you're helping. Send out a shout out on your Facebook or your LinkedIn or your Instagram or whatever. Just thank those workers, because they're working. Wow, I mean, they are stressed out, and they are also going to need our support on a go-forward basis. I can't imagine some of the trauma that they're experiencing. So, anyway, that would be one thing. I know other people are doing rallies in their neighborhood and hammering on pots and pans and whatnot. So anyway, if other people have ideas, that would be good. So another one is very concerned to hear that staff have been put on leave, that they're out looking for work. It's our hope that we can retain our staff. Any suggestions to keep our employees when we're able to resume at full speed? Absolutely. I mean, the notion behind any leave is that you can't, typically it's a cost reduction mode. So with leave, that means they, you want to bring them back. One of the things I would suggest that everybody, regardless of your situation. If you're on leave or you're contemplating a leave, keep the lines of communication open with your people. Keep them up to date on a weekly basis. Here's what the status of things are. Here's what we're thinking. Here's where we're going with this, and be open and honest with them. In the meantime, my intention was not to encourage anybody on leave to run off and find another opportunity, because the intention is that these employers who've had to make tough choices do want to bring you back. My intention of that was, if you need to get extra income, because let's face it, leave, and at least in the employment insurance here in Canada, is not going to necessarily be anywhere near what you're making before. If you need to augment that income, there are opportunities out there. Keeping in mind that on a leave, your employer does want to bring you back. So, yeah. So, Jinsi, do you have an overview of what we're doing next week for folks, so we can get this recorded for those that aren't here today?
Yes, absolutely. So next week we are doing 2 webinars. One is for folks who are looking to get ready to enter the job market again. So how to look for your next job, what to do to be ready. And the other one that we have next week is how to hire virtually. And this is for employers who are now going to be shifting their hiring methodology to online. How to that well, and how do you screen candidates when you can't see them, when you're not in front of them. That'll be our second topic. And the week after, we are doing a webinar on building resilience, and that is where, you know, resilience of healthcare workers, or resilience of your staff who are now going to be asked to go on leave. That is where we would like to discuss all of those things. So you would see them popping up on our Ahria LinkedIn page. Once you see them there, please go ahead and register for them. Or if you just want to send an email to me or Terry, we can send you all the webinar information.
Yeah. So we really do appreciate the opportunity to provide these webinars, and to be able to provide some insight and whatnot. So please keep coming out. It keeps it real for us. And if you have others that you know would benefit from these, please let us know. Your feedback is very incredible to us in terms of helping make sure we're hitting the right topics, getting the right time frames, making sure we're meeting everybody's needs. So please let us know how that's working for you. So, and we'll adjust and pivot accordingly, because that's what we do. So,
yeah.
All right.
On that note, as we sign off, you will see the feedback on your screen. Please take a moment to just complete that feedback. Thank you, everybody, for coming in and joining us.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll chat with you next week.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe out there.